All right.
Welcome to Sisters in Song.
Yes.
We're going to have you introduce yourself, tell us where you're calling us from, and maybe tell us how you got started in your career as a musician.
Uh, keep me up all night. Keep me up all night, all night. Keep me all night by your side in your heart. Well, the reason I'm
Love
doing
it.
it because you, right? I don't know when I think we already started, but you said something. We don't want to keep you all night, and I was like, that's a song.
There you go. I love it.
And
Everything's a
I'm
song,
pretty
right?
sure it says say it loud and maybe loud and proud.
Say it loud and
Yes.
proud. We're
Okay,
woke and we're proud.
stop it. So I just thought, why not?
That's awesome.
Love it. Love it.
I'll give you
So,
credit for that song, on the next
all
one.
right.
Okay.
All right. Put that
Absolutely
in our
will.
bank. Gosh. So we have Jesse Daniel Edwards coming to us tonight. Tell us, where are you coming to us from?
Well, thank you. It's really an honor, and gosh, getting a chance to just speak with people and share ideas. And I'm big up lately about kind of trying to construct tools for hope and compassion based just on ideas and conversations and any sort of revelations or dreams or epiphanies, and so it is an honor, and I just can't think of anything else I would rather be doing. And as to the where, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
Lovely.
Very cool. How long have you been there? Or are you from there originally?
Well, I was talking to a realtor friend today, and we were, I welcomed her to the home, and I said, "Look, you seem to be an expert. When does a house become a home?" And we were, trying to figure out what the nexus point might be. When do you know that you're home? It's such a subtle series of feelings. And then the conversation went on because she's been here about as long as I have, so almost 20 years. And she said, "Have we been here too long?" At what point changed that, instead of at a certain point, here's a cup holder, or what is this? Here's a little thing, right? So at what point, trying to hold on and grasp and attain and reach for new experience, at what point does that become harder because you're so busy holding on to the city that you knew and loved and the things that pertain to that feeling of belonging, community, security, all the things that, but home is a complex thing. It's like love or family. I mean, when I say the word home, it goes into each of y'all's ear, and now the hit single, "Keep Me All Night" by Y'all's ears.
That's right.
And, it literally reverberates like a little bit of air moves, and in this case, there's a digital interface happening between us, a Zoom microphone, which we've already talked about at some length. It takes that, that air movement, translates it digitally into, okay, it's a word. It's happening. I guess it goes up into space and then down, happening so quickly. This transference of communication, and but then it goes out of your Zoom speaker, your iPhone speaker or computer speaker, into the air right around you. It recreates and moves the air against the tympanum, of our ears, and goes to the audio cortex, and those vibrations are transferred from the digital back to the analog, back to psycho-spiritual, psychosomatic, whatever. And it represents this idea, but the idea is filtered through all of your experience and everything that you've ever done, everything you've known and come to experience with home. But we're not always necessarily talking about the same thing. Home for you could be complex. It could be sad. It could be troublesome. Home for me could be warm and gushy. And that could change too. You and I have this conversation in a year, and that it changes. And as we get older and accrue more and more experience, some of these notions become more and more complex, making communication more and more, interesting. And this is where I think music and art stand in the gap, because there's room for interpretation. There's a margin of latitude for meaning and for communication to occur, because we're creating open shared space where there's room for your idea of home and my idea of home, all in a da 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 da, da melody.
That's right.
That's exactly true. And I think that's a great it draws a big picture, a good picture. We want to know about your new album. Tell us about the album coming up, and what is your message that you're putting out with this album?
Uh, well, gosh, that's a perfect segue because, an album, I mean, imagine if we were having this conversation before the invention of recorded media or before photographs. I mean, it would change our understanding of the present, and it would change our understanding of ideas and memories and things being stored. That shared space that we were just referencing, that would only exist as we'd have to keep recreating that little hut of shared liminal space every single time that we wanted to meet there. But a recording or a photograph or a film, certainly I'm still just I'm not even a novice. I'm not even an initiate. I'm not even a pallbearer. I'm appalled that I'm not even a pallbearer. But the digital realm of what can be stored and how information can be. I mean, I don't. Gosh, I mean, all this about it being reverse engineered from advanced downed craft. I mean, how else can we explain it? The amount of time it took our kind to develop the steam engine from banging on rocks, comparatively to the amount of time we went from a steam engine to a self-driving car. I mean, it's kind of insane, right? Machines talking to each other. But, an album, I kind of almost think, I mean, after that's quite the tangential intro, but I almost kind of think I prefer it before because, we're having this conversation. It's the year 2025. What you can do in a studio, what you can do with a computer, what you can do, it's pretty breathtaking. But it's not always accurate. And I'm not even talking about talent. I'm not even talking about industry. I'm just talking about the purity of that shared space. It's hard to, if you get to that shared space and you want to commune with others with whom you feel a connection about things like home, family, life, experience, love, all of these things that make up the larger amalgam of our shared experience, the bulk of the things we have in common, where we need these spaces to keep the conversation alive and vibrant and going. But you get to that place and it's just a bunch of auto tune. It's a bunch of just stuff that isn't. It's like more robotic. It's more mechanical. I feel like, in a sense, it's probably harder to relate to because a lot of the human element has been taken out. It's a little. I think it can be harder to trust, and the reason it's gotten that way is because technology has occupied so much more and more space in our lives, and it bolsters in the same way that you put preservatives in bread or refined sugar in juice. It's like it enables it to be productified. It enables it to be mass commercial commodified. And I don't know that for me, music, art, that kind of campfire moment, that sort of oral tradition, it's more sacred than that. And if it was up to me, and I hate to say this because I know we're talking about albums, but I would never put anything out there. The only reason I record is because I enjoy the act of recording. I enjoy and I'm not a gear guy. I'm not like an engineering, computer guy, but I like the act of building music with friends. I like the act of, I love doing that in the moment too. But sometimes it's like in a dream when you're both experiencing and creating the stimulus. Sometimes it's like you're not able to, dreams are good at this because it shows us through impressions and symbols and through deep emotional reactions, what we need to know. But with music, I feel like I'm able to get more out of it if I can go back and reflect. And maybe that's greedy. But, in the moment, it's nice having both. And I don't know. So part of me thinks it can be a bit contrived, and I try to keep it authentic myself, but without being a complete Luddite and reverting to just going to completely analog. There's kind of balance, right? I mean, could you live without a smartphone in this day and age? Would you want to? I did it for a time. I tried it for a time, but gosh, as soon as it went time to go to the bank, as soon as it went time to try to get in the car, drive somewhere, I felt hobbled, by my sort of inefficacy. And so, but that doesn't mean that you need to, have a TikTok where you're making money by shaking your butt and it doesn't. There's somewhere middle for me, right? So, but so those are my feelings on albums in general. I think they can be a tool, but I think it comes with the responsibility. I don't think that we should I don't think we should misrepresent ourselves, you know, as artists. I think that there's a sacred responsibility to create that space and to do so in a way that is somewhat authentic. I have always strived to do that, even before I knew that that was what was on the line, that that was what was at stake. I sensed in my spirit, even as a youngin, that that was what I was called to do, was to be part of that process, even if it was just janitorial. You know, I'm just here to the place, you know. But I want to be in that room in that mission-driven ethos of effort and energy and just time spent, you know, space occupied. I like that. I want that to be my story. I've always wanted that. So for me, albums are kind of a way to do that. I've always taken it. I know it sounds, you know, I take it seriously, but at the same time, there's a free form thing. I don't obsess over it. You know, you know, to death. I feel like I know the importance of it. I think I will say this. I think it's needed more now than ever because of just how it's so easy for our not to get too, you know, not to have too harsh of a critique, but of the status quo. But I see that human communication is very much an endangered species. The human soul element. And I'm not talking about politics. I'm not talking about religion. I'm just talking about the thing inside of us that is not robotic. That isn't like, unlike, buy, don't buy it.
Sure.
Plays over during an ad. And I want music that I am involved with, conversations like this, everything that I do, I want to be more leaning towards, like, you know, not and it's not like this deeper significance. It's not this, you know, sense of pretense. It's just more, I yearn for clear water. I want to swim in clear water with the other fish trying to find those same pools. You know, it's just because I see a lot of things that I don't agree with, and they're wreaking havoc on the environment. They're wreaking havoc on relationships, on society, on values, whatever those values are. The values should not be ego and money. But everywhere I look, I see that those are the idols. Those are what people are willing to lay everything down the line to serve and to worship. And for me, I don't want to do that. So for me, for albums and for music, I'm just trying to gently, organically steer towards those tide pools. You know, it's like, let me get into a place where I'm feeling along the right sort of lines. The frequencies are just humming and verbing along in sort of a warm, sort of amber glow way that we can all agree on. You know, that I'm not trying to compete, not trying to make money, just trying to. And so, you know, when I go into make an album, I like to think of it as a conscientious enterprise. You know, I don't go in there trying to make a product. I don't go in there trying to be popular. I don't go in there trying to make people like it. I just go in there and do this. I just do this, you know. But this album it's that, you know, it's the latest, it's the next, it's the chapter of that for now. And gosh, if I were to go back 10 years and listen to that other chapter, I think the only litmus test that I can abide by, the only metric that I can follow through all of this, you know, because it's also ambiguous. It can all be so ambiguous. It can all be such a water divining process. But when I go back, and this is again where the usefulness of the medium, and I see that there's a through line. You know, I listened to the chapter from 10 years ago and the chapter from 10 months ago, and I see the same guy, the same message, yearning for the same MO, aiming at the same big target, just, you know, weaponizing compassion through sonic means. And I say, yes, that was the point. It is working. And it's so easy to fall into the pitfall of, it hasn't made any money. No one listens to it. No one likes it. I don't even understand it half the time. It sounds like a demo. All of the insecurities, all of the misgivings, all of the self-doubt, all of the recrimination. But then when you see that through line and you're able to hold these albums up and shout it to the people, my friends who put my stuff out, because as I mentioned, I wouldn't do it on them. I would just be happy to just tinker in here. And as it is, so much stuff that's just amassing in a heap on a hard drive. And I don't know, I don't think about it that way. But shout out to them, because I respect and appreciate their gratitude and their energies and efforts, their belief in me, and the belief that this stuff should go out to some larger. But you see, we're a line. They're not promoting it. I mean, the fact that we're having this conversation, I mean, they're looking for these channels, you know, those inch deep, mile wide channels where this stuff, you know, it comes into its proper form and shape and time. You know, I can't just put this out on Spotify and expect it to be. It's just that's not the forum. So this
Yeah.
this is that. This is just the next chapter. And if anyone has survived this monster soliloquy diatribe, and they listen to and they happen to connect the dots and listen to the record, they'll hopefully be able to see that, okay, this makes sense now.
So I mean, I get what you're saying, and I get the message that you're putting out to your listeners, and that this is the chapter. Do you know what's going to come next?
What's next chapter?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a waiting game, isn't it? Because just the rollout of everything and the time, just the time factor. I mean, everything that we do has a time factor. They were tearing down the house next door. Speaking of home, get this: they tore the house down next door and they built a new one 3 feet over. And it's just, yes, it's a nicer, newer house, but it's like, I mean, what was wrong with the old house?
Right.
Yeah.
Their house was 1905. This house was 1904. I'm like, anyway, this conversation with the neighbor started about trying to, we're talking about speed bump. We're trying to raise a rally cry for speed bumps. Shout out to speed bumps, But when I was watching them tear this thing down, and each of the bricks, sort of laying in the dirt and getting churned over and then picked up and carted away, destination unknown. And I was thinking each one of those bricks represents, in a very tangible, visible, graspable sense, a mode of time. It took, not to get too granular, but each one took a certain amount of time to make and to ship. But more to the point, each one, someone had to lay there by hand, and the next one, and the next one. And when they knock it all down, the time goes away, the house goes away. It goes back to being just a brick, and that's it. And then what was crazy, though, is once they did all that and they did the site prep and they leveled everything with the backhoe, there's another guy out there with new bricks, and he was just laying each one down by hand, just building. But everything we do, everything from the moment that we're born, everything that we do is that process in just different modes of time. Fill up the car with gas, X amount of time. Pick up ice cream, X amount of time. Talk to friends, X amount of time. Depending on the friend, it could be quite a big X of amount of time. So it's, music. What's fun about music is you're doing that in the invisible black box of your brain, as informed by your ears. It's that sort of simultaneous create, receive loop. And music, okay, guitar strum, X amount of time, chorus, X amount of time. I mean, you just build it that way, and then it becomes an album, and the album has, someone's got there has to be some visual cover, there has to be a conversation, there has to be. So there's a big, what I've come to find out is it's quicker to build a house than it is to get a record out. But, so yeah, there's already a couple other ones that have been built, and they're just sitting on a hard drive, and there's a lot of other things that go into it that I just kind of hand it off at a certain point, and then my friends sort of run with it. And but in answer to your question, it's I mean, let me jump in my time machine, rewind a couple chapters. Oh yeah, and don't you love it when a chapter just sort of starts in the middle of a sentence, like, so there, and then the house toppled over, and there was a guy building, hands vibrate, and it's just like, wait, did I put the bookmark in the wrong place, or but no, but it is. So there's the personal part of your life and story and observations and opinions and feelings that you're channeling, but then there's also the musical journey that's going on sort of in parallel to that, and maybe nothing quite as extreme as, I've picked up a new, I've been playing the aerophone, or, I'm going through a bongo phase, it could just be something more of an interval or a certain tempo, a certain series of tempos, a certain vocal thing that's happening. So, without getting too esoteric about those finer points, I'll just say that the journey is continuing logically, but in also pleasantly surprising ways. And I know that musically I have a long way to go. I mean, I was listening to some sounds, Elian Radigue, that, I don't know if y'all are into that. This kind of '60s era French synthesist. She was kind of a pioneer of creating synthesized sounds and just having these really ornate, epic, really long pieces of music, serialized pieces of music, but just building very slowly on a sine wave, and then something else kind of pulsing kind of comes in, and the whole thing is like a meditation on the afterlife. And it's like, what? So I know that I need to push into it. I need to push myself creatively. I feel like I've done that, but at the same time, I feel like I've only arrived at base camp. There are still many summits to go. So I'm looking forward to that. The ones that will come out in time, I think, reflect that. But I also feel like if we were having this conversation in a couple of years and these current ones to which I'm referring were out, and we could look back and reference, we'd say that, that was a good diving board moment, because from there, you went to, recording, the beats of a mosquito's wing under a strobe light, But what is the difference between music and noise? It's talk about complex ideas, I mean, and what makes music good? I mean, music is so subjective. I don't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never debate the point anymore. I think back, I was a child of the late '90s, and it's, music was, I mean, it was a very tense subject, especially in the small town in which I grew up. It was a matter of personal identity. It was a matter of the clique and the tribe to which you belonged. It defined you. I don't know if that still happens, because it's become so much bigger. It's become so much more accessible, but for me, it was a matter. It was a very serious matter, and for all of my peers and colleagues at the time, I could say it was about the same. I mean, what you listened to, what you subscribed to. I mean, that made a huge statement, and it affected how you dressed, how you tried to walk and talk, and talk the walk the talk. It was just the people you wanted to hang out with. It was important. It felt important. At 13, 14 years old, it felt important. And so, without going too much into, because I feel like it's branching off into music and noise. And okay, so now we've all agreed that this is music. Who will agree with me that it's good? Right?
You're right about the subjectivity of it.
Yeah.
And likes or not likes, it depends on each person. It absolutely does.
Yep. And there's always going to be somebody out there that maybe follows one thing that you don't, maybe it doesn't touch you, but it touches them. And that uniqueness, that connection, like you talked about earlier, is what's important, I think, in music too. So
Yep.
Very cool. So we would love to have you. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sure y'all probably know this, and listeners probably do as well, but in most of the music we listen to, there's only 12 notes. And there's some kind of there's some margin in between that for expression. I mean, the blues is a great example, right? But I mean, there's only 12 notes that we're dealing with. I mean, I can tell you, I'm not even an expert, but I can tell you Bach, Mozart. I mean, those guys had it completely hacked hundreds of years ago. We're not the wheel here.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, it's infinite. It can be infinitely repurposed, reimagined, redrafted, reinterpreted, remade, reborn, and that, I think, is what makes it so interesting. And then, of course, when you get into, as you go further east, that scale starts to become and there's all these like quarter tones and little and very and just different spaces between frequencies, different frequency relationships, different tonal character. I mean, in some ways, we're still just uncovering so much of what is possible with just this one, at the end of the day, rather simple art medium. I mean, for all of the things that go into making records, the act of music, ethnologists, they reckon that, the earliest music was people just banging rocks together. I mean, in a sense, it still is that, tempo and,
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, it's time for your shameless plug. Where can we find? Do you have a website? Do you have the social
Where do we
media?
find all your music?
I can't. I don't know. I know that. Well, what's crazy is that the guy that puts this out for me, his name's Denny. He's got He's got a record label in Portland, Oregon. He's been a friend and mentor to me for many years now. Shout out to Denny. He insists on anything that I put out, he puts on vinyl, but I don't think anybody buys it or listens to it. I don't really know. I've never met anybody that has. So I think if you were to I'd have to look. I don't really know. I mean, he always sends me a couple. That's it. That's all I have. But I guess if you were to Google it or something, maybe it would come up, but it might just be, I don't, it might be a vinyl. I don't know if it's only a vinyl. That wouldn't make any sense. Who listens to vinyl, right?
We do.
We're vinyl collectors.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us. I think, so many important things to say. I think that the EPs both have so many important things to say. So I really hope that people will take a listen, and I think they are.
And we appreciate you
Yes.
taking time out to chat with us today. It's been fantastic to meet you. Thank you again.
Well, it's been entirely my pleasure to you both. And thank you so much for doing what you do and for taking the time. It's just a complete honor. So
Well, thank you.
Thank you.